I will admit to you that I wasn't very familiar with Ben Collins over there at NBC. I would tell you I didn't pay attention to his work. Certainly, I'm not a guy who watches NBC. I will admit to you that while I appear on cable news from time to time on the weekly, I don't watch. I don't even have cable. So no, I wasn't familiar with Ben Collins, but having become familiar with him now, and that he's on the dystopia beat. It seems to me he's the guy creating his own dystopia and trying to create it for a viewership. Guys, welcome to the show presented by Americans for Prosperity, americansforprosperity.org. Free speech is a good thing. Economic liberty. Yeah, I'm a fan of all of that. Good to be with you. Good to be back. So Ben Collins, I'm not kidding. There he is on the Twitter box right there. Senior reporter, Dystopia Beat, NBC News. I don't know if Ben is the guy with the bear or this other dude. I don't have that answer. I'll let Ben figure out who he is at another time. He has been all over NBC because, of course, Elon Musk has purchased Twitter, and that means it's the end of days. Of course, it's not the end of days, and it's not the end of days because he may allow people back on the platform that Ben doesn't like, whether that's Donald Trump or Kanye West or maybe even Alex Jones sometime in the future. And we should be clear about all three of them. If you tell me that Trump incited an insurrection, I'll disagree with you. I don't believe that's ever been the case. But if you tell me Trump incites violence, but you still allow the Ayatollah Khomeini to be on Twitter, I don't think that you have a really good understanding of what balance is and what is and isn't okay. The former president, not okay. The hardliner ruler of Iran that has women stoned to death for not wearing their burqa properly and they end up dying, totally okay. That's not a platform one should be proud of. And maybe we should be thankful that Elon Musk has made the purchase and that Elon Musk is saying, look, imperfect people get to tweet too, which brings us to Kanye West. I'm not a fan of Kanye West. Kanye West, DEFCON 3 on the Jews, not DEFCON, DEFCON. All the other insanity, I wasn't a super big fan before. I did once say, and it's true that when you were taking a look at what he and Kim Kardashian, when they were married, were getting done and they were meeting with Trump and you know, the first step act and everything else, man, that's a power couple. That's a power couple right there. Well, they showed me. They showed me, just another reminder, of course, that, you know, you can appreciate what someone has done, but there's no reason to put them on a pedestal. There's no reason to laud and glorify. That seems to me to be a ridiculous thing to do, a mistake. And that's a mistake being made with Elon Musk right now. He bought Twitter. It doesn't mean that he's your best friend. He's going to open it up to people to speak. That's a positive. It doesn't mean that everything he does is great afterwards. This brings us to the Alex Jones conversation. I'm no fan of Alex Jones. I think Alex Jones is a putz. That is a personal opinion. I think he's a putz. I've always thought he's a putz. I haven't changed in my view that I think he's a putz. I got 9 other people I can mention. Boom, 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 boom. I think are putzes. But when it was brought up that, are you going to bring Alex Jones back onto the platform, Elon Musk got very, very personal and said that, I didn't know this about Elon Musk. He lost a child to something called SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. It happens sometimes, and it's horrifying. My baby in my arms and took its last breath in my arms, and I'm not going to give platform to anybody. This is me paraphrasing, to anybody who attacks children and the dead, talking about Sandy Hook. And I said on radio, and I say to you now, it is, yes, and I will concede that it's his platform. He can do what he wants. But you took something personal and decided this guy can't speak. So you do have a place where you draw the line, and where you draw the line is based on what you see as personal, Elon. It's yours. You're allowed to make that call. But we shouldn't now say that he's a free speech guy because he had something horrible happen to him. This other person can't speak, and I think this person's a putz. Free speech does not exist for the speech that you like. It exists for the speech that you hate and for the people that you despise. Louis Farrakhan, based on his own words, is an anti-Semite. If he refers to Jews as termites, which he has done, if he says Hitler's a very great man, that's a Jew hater. I'm Jewish. He hates me. He should have an ability to be on these social media platforms. Of course he should. If you say to me, but you can't allow that speech. No. I have to be a guy utilizing the platforms that I have, explaining to people why his speech is so wrong and so awful. You don't get to forcibly stop him, because if that's the case, if I get to forcibly stop him, he can forcibly stop me, which is exactly what Twitter was doing to all of us for years. And the reason that people like Ben Collins are so incredibly upset is because they lost control of the tool. They lost control of the town square. They believed only they knew what was right, what was wrong, that what you should be able to hear, and most importantly, what you should not hear. Like, for example, about Hunter Biden's laptop and the New York Post story, which CBS just came out 2 years later to say, oh yeah, that laptop, we confirmed it. We had this. We know this story. Who the hell are you talking? You confirmed it. You confirmed what? You don't confirm anything. The New York Post already did the work, and Twitter and Facebook refused to allow us to hear that story. As a matter of fact, you can look to that as almost the genesis of this whole, my gosh, we can't trust these people. My gosh, they really don't want us to be able to share with each other. They're going to decide what is and isn't acceptable. They're going to try and tell us what misinformation is and disinformation is. All of those people who said Hunter Biden's laptop, well, that's just got all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation, Russian misinformation. Why would anybody listen to them again? But I will bet you dollars to donuts that James Clapper is back on CNN, and Peter Strzok is back on CNN, and Andrew McCabe is back on CNN, and John Brennan is back on CNN. They got to do a lot of house cleaning over there. Back to Ben Collins and the dystopia that he is creating, because that's exactly what's happening. Ben Collins is creating his own dystopia. This was Ben Collins talking about, that's right, Twitter, and the poll that allowed Donald Trump to get back on.
Let me know if you think Trump should be back on. That is hardly what we would call a poll.
Yeah, you can't think of a less scientific poll than a guy posting something with no warning on, Friday night on Twitter.com. I think there's no less scientific. Yeah, it's his own followers, exactly. So, look, Twitter is evolving, and Twitter is evolving into a place where the info war happens. And if advertisers want to be a part of the information war between rival factions, where, for example, Kanye West, who is being replied to by Elon Musk and liked by Elon Musk, saying shalom, after being temporarily banned from the platform for tweeting that he was about to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews. That was his last tweet before he was banned. He's allowing people like that back on the platform, and he is de facto endorsing them by liking all their tweets and responding to them and telling them, they're back in the game here. I am not entirely certain that if I were a brand name advertiser trying to reach families or children or regular people, this is where I would take my.
Good for you. It's important that you drop that veiled, hey, advertisers, you don't want to be a part of this. No one wants to be a part of you if you're still on Twitter. The idea that Musk would like something that Kanye said. Well, you're right. I mean, I think that's kind of weird, but it's not the end of civilization. Trump's back on Twitter. Actually, I should say Trump was allowed back on Twitter. He has said, I'm not going on because he's got Truth Social. It's a competitor. He wants Truth Social to be the place. But as long as people are sharing what he's saying on Truth Social on Twitter, I don't know what the man's going to do. Yes, Elon Musk took a poll. Do you think the poll mattered? He was going to let Trump on anyway. It was marketing. You really think? Well, as you know, that poll was very unscientific. Oh, that Elon. Guess he's not as smart as everybody says. It's good. Maybe to do that with the eyebrows. It wasn't a poll. It wasn't anything close to a poll. It didn't matter. He was going to do it anyway. That's obvious. But he gave it a little bit of buildup, a little bit of Trump-esque buildup, if we want to be honest. That's what you're going to mock. It's really the end of days that Trump is back on Twitter. That's not it. Why wasn't it the end of days that Trump was on Truth Social? Still out there sharing. I get email blasts from Trump all the time. I get email blasts from everywhere. I get them all the time. Wasn't the end of days. Why now? Why this? For what reason would Ben Collins go, my gosh, this is just so terrible, and advertisers need to stay away? It has nothing to do with Trump. It has to do everything with Musk, and it has to do with control. The left no longer has control, and they are infuriated. And this is not a question of the right bashing the left. We should, however, note the good moments when the left is bashing the right. And, you know, those cis hetero somethings.
Danielle, your thoughts on the Trump reinstated back to Twitter with Elon Musk. Joking aside, how do you see this? I mean, you can joke if you want. I'm just saying, like, I'm giving it to you however you want to take it.
And I will give it back straight, which is that I'm absolutely disgusted. But what else do we expect from very white, privileged, cis, hetero men protecting each other because we always mistake wealth and inheritance for genius?
We do not mistake wealth and inheritance for genius. There are many people who have inherited money where we're like, man, they ain't bright at all. See, I was immediately going to go to Paris Hilton, but I was like, that was rude. Maybe hit my microphone. Maybe I don't want to be that guy. Maybe that's just rude and wrong. You don't want to do it. Nobody thinks this. But of course, the people at MSNBC think all of this. And of course, they want to tie it to, again, this dystopia of white people. The attack continues. The hatred, I shouldn't even call it the attack. It's hatred. It's bigotry. It's constant and consistent with his sister network there, MSNBC. It's not the end of the world because Trump has the ability to be on Twitter, and it's not the end of the world because Elon Musk owns Twitter. Here's what's happened in the week since they told us that Twitter was going to die. The sun rose and the sun set. And there's a space station, I forget the name of it right now. Someone's going to tell me in the comments. That was just 80 miles over the moon, sending back some amazing photos. People were born and people died and people tried good bourbon and people got food poisoning. I mean, I'll go to extremes, right? The world kept spinning. And all the talk about Twitter didn't stop a single Uyghur Muslim from being in captivity under the Communist Chinese Party. Twitter is just a tool and is not the end of days because either Kanye West or Alex Jones or Donald Trump is on it. We're better off that free speech is available, that the opportunity to share is there, because we're the ones who decide whether or not we're going to listen. Do you know how many people on Twitter I mute on a daily basis? The correct answer is not enough. Of course I do. You think I want to hear from some of these people? Nasty, rude, mean, have nothing to offer, nothing to give. I once got attacked. Social media, do you call it attacked? I guess. Take it. Not a real attack. Because someone at Media Matters didn't like what I said about Joe Biden, claimed I insulted him and made fun of his stutter. Well, the man doesn't stutter. This is just how he talks. And I didn't do that. And I have very personal reasons about why I wouldn't. But it didn't matter. It was social media, and in came the deluge. Thousands of tweets coming my way. How dare you? Who do you think you are? And then they called me fat and beaver teeth. Am I supposed to listen to people claiming to be my moral betters who call me fat and claim that I have beaver teeth? Am I supposed to pay attention to people who want to engage a level of moral superiority by insulting me? Disagreeing with me, well, that's one thing. That's rational. People disagree with people. Makes perfect sense. This wasn't about disagreement. This was about attack. Block, mute, 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 block, mute, mute, block, block, mute. Do you think those people are real? If anything, Elon Musk has taught us about the number of bots there are out there, I'm going to say probably not. Not. Twitter is a tool, and I believe people should have access to the tool. Do I believe you can threaten to harm somebody else? No, I don't. I do believe there is indeed a limit. So if the question is, am I a free speech absolutist? The answer is no. But I'm close. I believe you should be allowed to say disgusting things. Of course I do. Because someone else may not find it disgusting. If you're talking about engaging in harm against other people, threatening harm against other people, planning harm against other people, yeah, I think you're well within your rights to take that down. Ben Collins pushes this dystopia of Trump being on Twitter because, well, if he's on the dystopia beat, this is what helps him build his own world, build his own opportunities. But let's further this dystopia conversation and talk about what happened in Colorado Springs. 5 dead. I believe the last number was 18 injured in that shooting at the gay nightclub there in Colorado Springs. An absolutely horrific story, and no one there deserved it. Not a single person who died or got injured deserved it, and some very brave people stopped this gunman, and they deserve our respect because, my gosh, that's not an easy thing to do. And there's a history with this guy and claiming to have made bombs and felony threatening he's been charged with in the past, a conversation about red flag laws, etc. Well, clearly, as I caught this audio, this was part of a conversation that Ben Collins was in on NBC, talking about children and drag queens, men who dress up as women, which, as just a matter of just art form and history, whether you agree or disagree, has a long history. But it was always for adults. Drag was always for adults. Here's Ben Collins telling you that people are getting worked up because drag queens are talking to your kids.
Also, hours before what they called an all-ages drag brunch, which is probably the number one target of these anti-LGBTQ events recently. Like, for example, the Proud Boys will go and protest any drag brunch, any drag story hour, anything that a child might go to meet a drag queen, not, just to show them that they're human beings and people. They go there and they read Dr. Seuss there. They read regular books, but it's read by a drag queen, and they have breakfast. It is not some hypersexual event, but that's what it's viewed as on the far right.
Now, this is going to get a little rough because Ben Collins, I'm saying, is lying. And what he is lying about is this idea that the conversation involving drag queens and children is about the Proud Boys. That's cover. The conversation is about, yes, indeed, sexualizing children. I don't know why Ben Collins chose to lie to the NBC audience there, but I don't find it acceptable. The drag queens are not under attack, and I would oppose anybody attacking drag queens for just because. That would be radical, ridiculous, disgusting, and wrong. But you, Ben, are defending the sexualization of children because it isn't, well, just a drag queen reading a book, little Dr. Seuss, to a child and then having a cookie. The videos are out there and they are clear. And I would agree it probably isn't all of these events, but it is far too many. And someone should ask the following question of the drag queens, something I've asked on my radio show. Why are you doing book events for kids? It's an adult art form. It is. So what are you doing? Well, I don't understand why you're putting yourself in this situation. They're children. And no, I think many people would argue it's absolutely not acceptable for a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old to go there. And no, you don't have to be the one reading these books to kids. The idea that you want to perform and this is how you choose to perform or live, dude, you go be you. You go be you. I'm old enough to remember that Divine was in Hairspray. I don't think it's the end of the world. Some people may not understand it. I don't even have to understand it. I can appreciate what it is. I can. And go live your life. I grew up in New Jersey, the shadows of New York, a little further south than that, a place called Middletown. I knew what drag queens were from when I was a kid. I never went to a show. I just knew. It didn't seem odd or didn't seem strange. It was okay. Some people do that. Sure. That was, if my mother or father was here or not, my mother, if Diane was sitting right here, right now, I don't think she ever had a conversation with me about it. I don't think she ever engaged a judgment about it, just what it was. Didn't seem odd. Just, okay, that happens. You went to New York enough with your parents, you might have seen some things, which maybe possibly other people didn't see depending on where they lived. But reading books to children, these dances for children, the sexualization of children, you're bothered that people might be bothered. And in order to stop a real conversation from happening, you, Ben Collins, bring up the Proud Boys. You're the guy creating the dystopia. You're the guy creating the problem. You're trying to prevent parents from saying, hey, that's not right. Just like all the people who said parents are domestic terrorists, the Department of Justice, parents are attacking the school boards. Parents won in school board races across the country. And we're talking about parents who don't like what it is that they're seeing. And you have newspaper after newspaper and news outlet after news outlet lamenting the fact that these people have won on school boards and have taken over school boards. Good. Absolutely good. The people have spoken. There were some very good things that came out of this election. It's just media is not talking about, oh, you better believe they don't want to have any part of that conversation. It is clear to me that Ben Collins is on the dystopia beat because he creates the dystopia. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Twitter allowing Trump or not allowing Trump as well is what it is. It doesn't change your life one bit unless you let it. Saying that it's wrong for people to oppose the sexualization of children. How is that not the dystopia? What society do we live in where we don't protect children? You have people screaming about, oh, look at the political right wanting to ban books. Banning books means you can't get the book anywhere. Saying that maybe an 8-year-old shouldn't be allowed to have access to books that talk about oral sex. That's normal. That's normal. That's what the normies do. They're like, hey, that book is not appropriate for an 8-year-old. And then you get told as the parent who says that's not appropriate for an 8-year-old, oh, I guess you like banning books. The dystopia is the maneuvering of rational conversations to an irrational end by placing a claim on the people having the rational conversation to try and get them to stop. Why do you like to ban books? That's a struggle session kind of move. You might want to check out your chairman, Mao. Struggle session. Look it up, kids. It's Ben Collins creating the dystopia. It's Ben Collins moving the hate and the anger. And luckily, we can do with him like we do with Twitter. Don't have to watch NBC. Don't have to watch Ben Collins. A guy who is trying to profit on getting other people not to engage in open, honest conversation and shaming anybody who allows it to take place. That's pretty messed up. A lot of comments, and I appreciate them. I don't know how you guys over there at Rumble got into a conversation about Thanksgiving. My Thanksgiving meal includes a smoked turkey breast and a 17-pound brisket. You're welcome. I do it for you. I do it for you. It is a 17-pound brisket, whole packer brisket. It will be tomorrow night. It will be trimmed. And then I do the Cat's Simple rub. I am 1-for-1 kosher salt and black pepper. On this one, it'll be 3/4 of a cup of each, and it will be well rubbed. That's well rubbed. And then it will go in the fridge for 24 hours. It will go on Wednesday night. at 9 p.m. So I figure by the time I'm done trimming it, let's say it's 15 and a half pounds, maybe 16, 15. I'm going to go 15 and a half. I'm at least on my smoker. I use a Traeger. Which is a little bit of cheating, if you will, the wood pellets and the electric and how it keeps temperature. But man, it really does great. I have the Ironwood 650, so I really do an hour a pound, and I find I get the bark. I get it solid. So that's what's going on there. So that'll come off at noon. The turkey breast will go on, and then that brisket's going to rest for at least 3 hours. At least 3 hours. So I might delay on the turkey breast depending on when we think we're going to eat. Because I found that with a turkey breast that I smoke, after it's done, you have to slice and serve. If it waits, it's not the same meal. 1,000% not the same meal. And then I'm not a sweet potato casserole guy, but there are sweet potatoes. And I don't know. My wife is Italian, and on her Thanksgiving table always was eggplant parmesan. Not kosher because the cheese and the meat, but delicious. And so boom, it's on the table, and then we got a series of other things. So that is my Thanksgiving. I should have some cigar recommendations tomorrow. I was going to do a whole thing, but I didn't get to it because the weather's not going to be perfect in Indiana. So I smoke what you got, and you'll be fine. And you'll be fine. Guys, I got to run. I appreciate you being here. And my thanks, of course, to Americans for Prosperity, AmericansForProsperity.org. Free speech. That's what they are into, and that's why they support this show, and that's why I support them right there. Appreciate Americans for Prosperity so very much, and appreciate you, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Oh, gosh. Oh, crap. Tomorrow, on my radio show, and some people are like, oh, Tony, how could you? I'm like, what do you mean, how could I? The former Vice President, Mike Pence, the entire 8 o'clock hour, 8 a.m. Eastern, WIBC.com, WIBC.com is where you can listen to it. I will be interviewing the former Vice President. And, of course, you understand that I know him because he was the governor of Indiana. He got his start as a radio host on the station and on the show that I now host. So, I mean, there's a bit of connection. But I've got the questions that nobody asked. All the stuff that Tapper and Chuck Todd and the others. Oh, no. I feel pretty good about this. I feel pretty good about conversations regarding the future of the Republican Party, January 6th conversations about his book, the whole thing. So I'm looking forward to that. So tune in. I start at 6 a.m., but you can tune in at 8 a.m., WIBC.com, and listen to that. Guys, gotta run. Talk to you later.